comic books after all these years? Do you recall how it opened a brand new world? A brand new universe? The world of superheroes. The world of fantasy. The world of Jack Kirby. Hi, my name is Jillian Kirby, and at 17 years old, Jack Kirby's youngest granddaughter. As many of you know, my grandfather Jack was the comic book artist that created or co-created many of the iconic superheroes seen in the movies today, such as Captain America, the Fantastic Four, X-Men, the Avengers, Thor, the Silver Surfer, and countless others. Last year, in honor of my grandfather's 95th birthday, I founded the Kirby for Heroes campaign, a fundraising effort to support the Hero Initiative. The Hero Initiative is the only non-profit organization that helps comic book creators in need, and has done so for over 12 years. Through the Hero Initiative, financial aid is available for comic book creators, artists, and writers who may need assistance with the necessities of life, or simply a helping hand back into the comic book industry. It is a chance for all of us fans to give back to the creators who have provided us with so much enjoyment. This year, the Kirby for Heroes campaign continues, honoring Jack Kirby on Wednesday, August 28th, which would be his 96th birthday. Though my grandfather, Jack, unfortunately died the year before I was born, I am still surrounded by books, artwork, and of course family stories and anecdotes that I feel like I've known him my whole life. Even though I never had the opportunity to know him personally, I have learned that my grandfather was a very giving and charitable man, and would have been among the first to support the Hero Initiative. Hi, I'm Julian. To celebrate my grandfather Jack's upcoming 96th birthday on August 28th, I'm asking that you join with comic book retailers and fans across the country to help support the Hero Initiative on this special day. Here's how you, as a fan, can support the Hero Initiative in one of three ways. First, visit your local comic book store on Wednesday, August 28th. Many of them will be donating a portion of their profits on that day to the Hero Initiative. Second, you can mail in a donation directly to the Hero Initiative with the address shown. Or third, you can make a donation online at www.heroinitiative.org and be sure to type Kirby for Heroes or ask for special instructions. I cannot think of a better way to honor the legacy of my grandfather than to become part of the Kirby for Heroes campaign supporting the Hero Initiative. Through whichever method you choose, please donate before or on August 28th in honor of Jack Kirby's 96th birthday to the Hero Initiative. The Kirby for Heroes campaign, and I thank you so much for your support.
Alright, that is that. Hello everybody, this is Blind Adam here with another edition of Awesome Sauce Comics. And today we are going to be having a history lesson by Arlen Schumer, artist, historian, designer, and a whole bunch of other things. So let's just get him on the line now.
759, unlock, 100, unlock,
On the awesome phone.
mail, phone, 4,
We go to phone.
2, call, favorites, recents, contacts,
Go to
tab,
contacts.
selected, Adam, and cap, left, capital, Jack, Jeff, Court, capital, Pat, Dave, Derek, Diane, capital, Eric, capital, Fund, Frank, capital, Pal, capital, Ima, Italy, capital, Jane, Jen, Jessica, Jim, capital, Carl, Julie, Kristen, capital, Linda, Lisa, Lou, capital, Submarine, Nick, Mev, Michael, Mike, Missing, Mommy, capital, Nugent, Nina, capital, Oliver, Omar, capital, Patricia, Julio, Pete, Peter, Adam, capital, Ralph, Rich, Rhodia, Roman, Romy, capital, Scott, Show, 8 p.m., 100%, all cont, add, search, table is, capital S, Show. Sim. Kim Simmons. Matthew Simulant. Stephen Siri. Slapnuts. Sonia. Stephen. Sure. Alt FaceTime. Call. Button.
Yay! We made a phone call.
Calling
Yeah,
mobile.
we're gonna reach out and touch somebody.
Adam,
Hey, Arlen, how are you?
I'm doing good. My voice is a little hoarse from talking for 4 days straight at San Diego.
That is
5 days.
that is fine. Actually,
I hope it still sounds okay.
yeah, you sound fine. Actually, it looked like your some of your lectures went well. I saw this stuff on Facebook.
Yeah, I had a packed crowd. There were some really cool people in the crowd. Some people I didn't expect. People I was honored that were there. You know, some major comic historians and artists like Michael Allred, Todd Klein from DC Comics.
Nice. Michael's actually a friend of Mike.
Professor at UPS Comics.
Nice.
Bill Shelley, who writes, books. He just wrote the book about Kurtzman. So I was really honored by who was in the audience.
Nice. Like I said, this is Blind Adam here with Arlen Schumer on the Awesome Sauce Comics podcast. How you doing tonight, Arlen?
I'm doing good, Adam.
Why don't we tell my audience a little bit about who you are? Hey, Arlen, you there? Yeah.
Is that what you just said?
Yes.
Well, let's see. I am primarily a comic book style illustrator, doing illustration on a comic book art style. That's been my bread and butter and how I've made my living. I'm also a comic historian in the sense that ever since I loved comics, I was interested in their history. I don't know how you can be. Whatever you love, if you're a musician, you know the music of the past that influenced you to become the musician you are today. And the history of comics was always a fascinating, triumph and tragedy type of history.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt.
Like Siegel and Schuster and the selling of Superman and, how Bob Kane, kind of screwed his partner, the writer Bill Finger. I mean, these great American now money-making, billion-dollar making properties are clouded in this really kind of film noir mystery. So I became a comic historian just by doing articles and essays, and I did a book about the Silver Age of comic book art called The Silver Age of comic book art, and it's out in a new revised hardcover edition, and it's nobody kind of does what I do in terms of two-dimensional print comic book history and these verbal visual essays that I do.
Excuse me, Arlen. The stuff that I watched of your lectures on YouTube are amazing.
Thank you.
The one that you did on Superman and 9/11, which was the first one I watched.
Oh, that was a speech.
Yeah.
At 9/11.
Yep.
That speech at the Society of Illustrators, right?
That made me cry.
That was the first thing you saw of me, is that speech I gave?
Yep.
Should we tell people what that was?
Yeah. Basically, you can tell it better than I can, so go ahead.
Well, that was filmed at the Society of Illustrators in New York City in February of 2002 when they had a memorial exhibition for 9/11. So I was asked to do artwork. So I'm a member of the Society of Illustrators. I guess it was late 2001 after 9/11. And in deciding what I was going to do, I was listening to the radio one night in the fall of 11, and they were interviewing one of the widows of one of the men who died on flight
93, right?
And it was the passenger Louis Mackey, and his widow said that in talking about him, she mentioned that he had a Superman while I was working, and my ears perk up. You know, the minute you hear anything, when you're a comic book fan,
I mean,
whenever you hear anything in the so-called regular media,
about
the straight media,
yeah,
you know, your antennas shoot up, right?
yeah. I mean, cause
Yeah. So as soon as I hear Superman tattoo, anyway, I thought to myself, if this guy had a Superman tattoo on his shoulder, and he was on Flight 93, I guarantee you that's what probably gave him the impetus to fight the hijackers. And for all we know, this guy with the Superman tattoo, n.y.c, might have been leading the charge. So I decided for my memorial exhibition artwork, I turned n.y.c into Superman, meaning I did a portrait of him. I contacted, or I Googled his image, but the thing is, when I did the artwork, which was like a bust-sized piece of art of him in a Superman costume from, you know, the chest up, so, like, you know, he would look like Superman, and I did his name, n.y.c, in the Superman telescopic lettering, and I contacted his widow, and I arranged for her to come to the Society of Illustrators that night in February, and I wrote a speech, and they let me deliver it, in which I basically talked about, you know, this very thing, the genesis of doing the art, and that it kind of segued into saying that I have testimonials in my files from firemen and policemen that became firemen and policemen because of the superheroes they read as a child. And that's the whole point of these superheroes, is to make us act heroically in our own lives.
yeah, actually, what just dovetailed into segues really nicely into how I want to say how this, that's one of my favorite speeches, because you're talking about, you know, how comic books influence people to do extraordinary things. And
you know,
as you know,
people like the comic book generation that are adults now are in all different fields. They're scientists, they're teachers. You know, you think gay people are in the closet? Comic book fans are still in the closet. You know what I mean? People don't realize that the son of Malcolm Forbes, of the Forbes empire, Christopher Forbes, is a major comic book fan. He's got the original art of Flash 123, which is a famous, you know, 1961 introduction of Earth 2.
yep.
He owns the artwork.
Actually, I'll just drop a couple names of mainstream comic book fans. Shaquille O'Neal, Jerry Seinfeld, Quentin Tarantino.
Nowadays, the list is endless, but I'm talking about all through growing up. Like I said, there've always been comic book fans, but they've always been in the closet. But they've been in major intellectual industries and companies and idea centers. Like I said, from teachers to whatever. You know, comic books inspire you to, like I said, act heroically, to achieve. I remember I gave a lecture at a Barnes & Noble when my Silver Age book originally came out in '04, and a black man in the back stood up at the end, and he said that I became an actor and got out of the ghetto because of the Black Green Lantern, John Stewart, which was the first real black superhero in 1971, when he was a kid. And that inspired him to eventually become an actor and get out of the ghetto. That's comics.
That's just awesome stuff. And again, just for myself, I think the reason I'm so well adjusted to my vision loss so well is because of Daredevil.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
because, or if I want to bring it to even closer to the next thing I wanted to talk to you, because it's the second lecture I watched last night because I couldn't sleep, Fantastic Four 48 through 50. It's not the Fantastic Four that saves the Earth, it's the blind Alicia Masters who convinces the surfer.
That you saw. That's nice.
The Jack Kirby.
Oh, the Jack Kirby lecture, right?
Yeah.
Right.
See, I was trying to pretend to be a professional podcaster here and try to segue into that, but you know, you beat me to it.
Well, that was my lecture that I called Yaakov Kurtzberg, King of the Universe, I think was the title.
Yeah, you had the
Right? And
20.
because it was at the Lower East Side pop-up museum of the online Jack Kirby Museum, where not far away, Kirby was raised as Yaakov Kurtzberg, son of Jewish immigrants from Poland or wherever they came from. So, it's funny. I just got back from San Diego Comic Convention. I had 3 different conversations with 3 different sets of people who didn't even know who Jack Kirby was, who thought that
Ouch.
Stan Lee was the artist as well, and think that, of course, Stan Lee created everything. So, if you think people don't even know the name Jack Kirby,
That's
they
sad.
know Yaakov Kurtzberg. But the real thing to grasp is, isn't it amazing that these billion-dollar properties sweeping the cinematic world and the world itself were created by an uneducated, son of Jewish European immigrants named Yaakov Kurtzberg.
Oh, it's just
That's the real super heroic tale.
Oh, definitely.
How that guy came out of the Lower East Side and those crumbling tenements and created the visual architecture, not to mention the conceptual architecture, of what's driving the entertainment world in 2015 to the tune of billions of dollars.
Number one,
Out of the mind of Yaakov Kurtzberg. Wrap your head around that, Adam.
I have lately. As I've been doing a lot of research on, is it Jacob or Jacob? I want the.
Jacob is the, anglicized English version of Yaakov.
All right, I just want to make sure that when I'm doing the full name, I'm pronouncing it right.
Most people see Jacob Kurtzberg, but if you really want to know, in the same way the name Jesus is a Greek version of the original Hebrew name, which was Yeshua. The name Joshua comes from the same root, Yeshua. So it's the same thing with Jacob. In Hebrew, the derivation of Jacob is Yaakov.
Yaakov. All right.
Yeah, it's spelled Y-A apostrophe A-K-O-V.
Thank you.
Yaakov, with that little pause with the apostrophe.
All right, cool. And but I've been reading up a lot on him.
I hope the listeners of this podcast appreciate the depth of detail we have gone into Jack Kirby's Hebrew name.
I think they do. I've had other historians on as well who've used it, and I just want to I think they really do appreciate it.
Anyway, so what do you want to talk about, Adam?
Well, first off, speaking of the King Kirby, do you think he's ever gonna get his due as far as getting more recognized within the Marvel Cinematic Universe as far as credits and whatnot?
Well, do you know about the settlement that occurred about 6 months ago?
Yes, I have heard about it.
Well, what do you know about it? I'll fill in the blanks of what you don't know.
Basically, I just know that Disney and the Kirby estate came to an agreement.
Right. And do you know anything else?
That's all I basically know.
Well, the rumor was anywhere from $20 to $80 million settled.
I hope it's 80.
Well, whatever it is, it's everything that Jack Kirby worked his whole life to dream for. And if only he could have died knowing that, his family and everybody was taken care of when he died. It's a shame this didn't happen 21 years ago.
All right, so that would make his granddaughter Jillian 20 then. All right.
Right. But it's really not about that. It's really about the fact that at the last second, Marvel, Disney blinked and didn't want to go to the Supreme Court. The following Monday, they blinked on Friday afternoon before it was going to go to the Supreme Court Monday to decide
Nothing.
Answer, nothing. What did Stanley create after 1970 when Kirby left?
Nothing.
Nothing. Oh, unless you count Stripperella or Ravage 2099. Well, how about the Governator? So my point is at the last minute, Marvel Disney blinked, and on Friday afternoon offered the Kirbys somewhere in the vicinity of 20 and 80 million. And the Kirbys took it. Now, you can't blame them, but we'll never know what might have happened and how that could have helped, because all signs were pointing to Marvel Disney losing if the Supreme Court was going to decide it, and that's why they caved. And the money to them is a drop in the bucket. They make $80 million in one day of one of their blockbuster releases.
Crap, with what it costs to get into the park.
Right, and plus, I guarantee you that Warner's DC was in the background saying to Marvel Disney, hey, you better settle with the Kirby family, because guess what? If you don't settle and it goes to the Supreme Court and they decide against you, we have to give half of Batman to Athena Finger, the granddaughter of Bill Finger.
Wait, let's go back before Batman. How about since at least since Disney and the Kirby estate at least came to some type of settlement, whereas Warner and the Schuster Siegel heirs, didn't even get that far.
I'm not sure what you're asking.
No, basically I just I know that the Siegel and Schuster lost their case against Warner Brothers.
Yeah, but what does it have to do with what we're talking about right now? I think the whole point is that I think Warner's pressured Disney to settle because they didn't want to take the chance, had it gone to the Supreme Court and losing, it eventually would have made them give up half of Batman to Athena Finger.
Okay.
Meaning they're pushing to get Finger recognized as co-creator of Batman in the same way the Kirby estate was pushing to get Kirby officially co-creator of the Marvel Universe.
Okay. Now I see where you were going. I apologize about that.
Nothing to apologize for.
That's cool, but it just sometimes surprises me how much the general public doesn't realize that Jack Kirby was the co-creator on all of this.
And well, that's because history is written by the victors. Stan Lee is the one left alive. Kirby's been dead since '94. And, don't get me started talking about Stan Lee. And, we could do a whole show just about the whole Lee, Kirby, Lee, Ditko, thing that's going on every day. Discussion, online, and I look at these comic history Facebook groups. It's an ongoing thing.
Definitely.
Stan Lee is walking around, basking in the straight media, which is, of course, to this day knows nothing about comics. Comic book fandom, and I spell it D-U-M-B, fandom doesn't know any better either. And this idea that Stan Lee's version of creation has won out in, both the court of public opinion as well as the courts themselves is what's really, still a tragedy.
Definitely.
Everything I'm doing in my career, comics history-wise, is to try to fight that and combat that by bringing, the way I do comics history, to the fore. With things like that Kirby lecture you saw on YouTube, shot on a bed sheet in this little pop-up museum on the Lower East Side, that should be on an IMAX screen.
Definitely.
Right,
definitely. I would pay to go see good money to see that. By the way.
So this is my point. That's my goal: is to take the lecture you saw and bring it on a grand scale, so people will see the genius of Kirby and know why he was the creator, and they'll understand the nature curtain. That's the whole point. Nobody presents comics like I present comics. I know it because I've seen everybody's presentation my whole life. There's such a visual medium. The presentations of comics are boring. These conventions. I've seen better elementary school production visuals than I've seen a comic convention.
You know, for what I can still make out visually, I also watched your n.y.c, lecture last night. I thought that was amazing too.
Thank you.
And I really enjoyed the story of you going to summer camp with you know, and you showing the picture by your feet of the Superman annual of that year.
Right. Yeah, that's the first comic book cover I remember seeing as a child. That famous Kurt Swan statuette of the 25th anniversary, 1963, of Superman, and it was Kurt Swan's pencils and Jack Adler, the DC colorist, wash tones, you know, the gray tones. And at the time, it was really probably at that point, Superman's 25-year career, the most realistic image of Superman that had really ever been done. Because he had the Kurt Swan natural proportions, really one of the first kind of realistic superhero comic artists. That's what n.y.c recognized in him and immediately made him the Superman family cover artist almost overnight. Before Swan, it was Wayne Morris. The minute Weisiger sees Swan, boom. You know, for all of Weisiger's problems and, you know, criticisms, the man, when he saw talent, when he saw Neal Adams in 1957, he immediately made Neal Adams the cover boy of his entire line, replacing Kurt Swan overnight.
Yeah, and I also read your interview with Neal about the Superman Lee treasury. I really got educated with that.
Neal Adams' last great comic book work. I know he did a whole line of continuity comics in the 80s. You know, he still does stuff now, that Batman Odyssey and all the stuff he does at conventions, all that stuff. But let me tell you, when you really look at his work, if you really know Neal Adams, and I mean, you know, he had the most impact on me. I ended up working for him and everything, but you know, I still treat him like I did when I was 12 years old, and he was one of the gods of comic book art. And, you know, to me, Superman Lee coming out in 1978 represents his last great comic book work. You know, his great comic book work started in 1967 with some black and white comics from Warren Publications. And I believe it comes to an end with a bang with that Superman Lee oversized comic, which felt like a movie on paper. And if you really look at Neal Adams' comic book career after that, you tell me if he's done anything as good as Superman Lee, and I'll wait.
Not that I can think, nothing that I can recall, and I actually just.
My point. I mean, not that he hasn't turned out good art. We're not talking about the entire comic book product. And again, if you think Batman Odyssey is it, we can have a whole other podcast just debating.
No, because I quit. I stopped reading Batman Odyssey after issue #1, scratching my head, going WTF.
Adam, me too. I can't believe you said that. I looked at every issue as it came out because as a Neal Adams fan, I had to keep up on what was going on. But man, in that first issue, I don't know if you remember this, but towards the like 2/3 of the way through, the storytelling was so disjointed that I thought for sure an entire spread was printed out of order. I thought they screwed up on the printing.
I thought so too.
I went back, Adam, and checked the pages. Guess what? They were in the right order. That's how Neal Adams wanted it. That's how disjointed the storytelling was. And then the artwork, all I can say is, if you had told me when I was, 12 years old in 1970, the beginning of Neal Adams' peak era, that one day I would be using the names Batman, Neal Adams, and the phrase, "it hurts my eyes just to look at it," I would have had a 12-year-old heart attack.
It's pretty similar to the one I had with when the same thing with me with All-Star Batman and Robin, Frank Miller, and what the hell just happened to my Frank Miller Batman story? It's that same thing.
Not Frank Miller. Let's get back to me.
Yep. Just making a comparison, man. I also another really cool article on your website that I loved. The 5 themes of the Twilight Zone.
My other child. I have 3 distinct loves that you can see on my website. There's comic book art, my illustration, comic book history, all that stuff. Then I was art director of Bruce Springsteen's First Man magazine, back when I was in Rhode Island School of Design. So I'm the biggest Bruce Springsteen fan you're ever going to meet. And you'll see on my site all the works I've done about his career.
Yeah, I did. I haven't had a chance to read those yet, but...
Right, and then, well, he's the superhero of rock and roll. So it does overlap. And then my third child, as I say, is the Twilight Zone. The original Rod Serling, black and white, 1959 to 1964. Greatest television series of all time.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, that's my first love with TV, is the Twilight Zone.
Well, the way I call it is that because it was an anthology show, there were no continuing characters. The only continuing character was Serling himself, which is unique in and of itself. But that's because of the anthology format, the breadth of storytelling on the Twilight Zone. There's no other TV show that can compare to that, because every other TV show is only one theme, in a sense, or not one theme, one genre. Twilight Zone is multiple genres, and they have genius storytelling within each genre. So if the aliens came and had room on their spaceship for one Earth television show, I mean, what are you going to give them? You're not going to give them The Sopranos. You don't want them to think like that is what Earth is about. You're not going to give them Breaking Bad. You're not going to give them Hill Street Blues. You're not going to give them Jerry Seinfeld. You're not going to give them I Love Lucy. I mean, I'm naming all the top 10 great shows of all time.
Yeah,
You're not going to give them Star Trek. Sorry.
No.
You're not going to give them The Prisoner. I'm naming the other 2 great shows in the 60s. You're not going to give them the Batman TV series. You're not going to give them The Outer Limits. You're not going to give them Alfred Hitchcock. What are you going to give the aliens, Adam?
I'm going to give them the Twilight Zone, and and you know what? Those 3 episodes I'm going to make them watch. A game of pool, The Dummy, and I think it's called
That brought up the subject. Give me some feedback on that essay.
I found it very informative.
Well, tell people what it was about.
Basically, it was an essay on how the Twilight Zone had 5 overlapping themes.
Right.
And, the themes were, great, hang on. I know the themes were like, aliens coming, psychic stuff. I'm drawing a blank for some reason, but
Well, I'll tell you what they are, off the top of my head.
Alright.
What I consider the 5 themes of the Twilight Zone, even though Serling created it and wrote 2/3 of the episodes, the other third of the episodes were written by, a who's who of, science fiction, horror, fantasy, Richard Matheson, Charles Beaumont, the 2 primary writers after Serling. And then there's, one-offs by Earl Hamner, who would go on to create the Waltons, and, guys like that. So there were a bunch of other writers, but I feel like all of these themes were Serling's kind of overarching themes. And I broke them down into what I call a question of identity, which are all the episodes that dealt just that. People not knowing who they were, people who were robots, mannequins, all that stuff. Then there was a category called science and superstition, which is all the science fiction, alien, spaceship, best episodes of that genre. And there was the time element, the best episodes that dealt with time travel. Then there was my favorite category, I called it suburban nightmares.
Yeah, you did. It's coming back to me now.
Yeah, and suburban nightmares is all what I think were the key Twilight Zone episodes which always took place in regular American surroundings. I compare some of the images to Edward Hopper paintings of bus stations and automats and things like that. The great Twilight Zone episodes took place in American pop culture landscapes like department stores. I grew up going to department stores in Paramus, New Jersey. They were the theme parks of our youth. And the idea of ever being locked in one overnight would have been one of the most horrifying, scary experiences. By day, we loved them. But by night, they would have become like haunted malls. And one of the greatest Twilight Zone episodes is the woman that gets trapped in the department store at night. And that's the one where she turns into a mannequin. I mean, we find out that she's a mannequin come to life.
Yeah.
After hours with the actress Anne Francis, the girl from Forbidden Planet, the movie, and then later in the 60s, she was Honey West for one season, the James Bond knockoff. But man, she had other acting credits, but that Twilight Zone episode is her immortal bid. So many great actors and actresses had individual episodes that are better than anything that ever been in film.
Actually, I like to.
Forehead was the mother of Citizen Kane and Dora in Bewitched. But I'll take her Twilight episode called The Invaders, where she's the old woman in the barn, being attacked by these little beings that turn out to be American astronauts, and she's a giant, but we don't know that.
Yeah.
Again, that is her immortal bid.
Cool.
That episode, I believe.
Actually, right now I think my life is actually a Twilight Zone episode, Walking Distance.
What about it?
Actually it's an episode that's, I think I'm feeling that right now, that wanting to go home aspect.
Yeah.
That famous quote, I'm in a dead run, and I just needed to go home to,
Yeah, I mean, that episode is the time travel episode where he goes back in time to when he was a child and he meets his parents. I mean, there have been so many time travel TV shows and movies, but man, Walking Distance, that little half hour by Rod Serling, is still, in my mind, the single greatest time travel story, film, television, you name it, by anyone. And it has stood the test of time. The music by Bernard Herrmann is unbelievable. The photography, the Gig Young performance, everything about Walking Distance not only makes it the greatest time travel story, but maybe the single greatest Twilight Zone episode, which people who love that episode, might claim.
oh, that's only one episode for me that tops it. The Game of Pool.
Why not?
It was the first episode I ever saw as a kid.
Okay, so you're a little biased because it's the first one you saw.
Yeah.
You really objected? Why is that episode the best episode ever?
That's got a very powerful lesson in its own way of being careful of what you wish for.
I'm just saying, what makes it the best Twilight Zone? If the Twilight Zone is the greatest series of all time, you're telling me, out of all the great episodes that make it the greatest series, why Game of Pool above all others?
I really think it wasn't your typical Twilight Zone episode. It's
Yeah, but none of them are typical. It's anthology. What is a typical Twilight Zone episode?
good point. Good point.
I'm just saying, is it only because it's the first Twilight Zone you saw? I'm saying, objectively, does it really have? And listen, I love the episode. It's in my whatever top 50. But I mean, I'm just as a Twilight Zone fan myself, as well as somebody that's done an extensive amount of work, like investigating it. I'm just curious to know why of all the episodes, you would pick that one as your number one.
I think a little bit of biased. It was the first one I ever saw that made me say, like, this. I have to watch this show whenever I see it. And I'm a huge fan of Jack Coleman, so that may have a lot to do with it. And that the ending always sticks with me as a life lesson of being careful what you wish for, and sometimes being the best isn't always always the best thing in the world. You know, Fats Brown got to go fishing. Jesse had to go keep proving that he was the best in the world at playing pool.
Right. Yeah, I love that ending where he's so triumphant that he beat Jonathan Winters, and then immediately, Jesse Marsh, you're wanted in Chicago, and you see him in that cloudy afterlife at the pool table, right?
Yep.
Well, that was the Twilight Zone, man. Those endings, unparalleled in television. I mean, like I said, there was nothing like the Twilight Zone before it, meaning half-hour anthology drama. The great TV shows in the 50s were those 90-minute live things. And then there's been nothing like half-hour anthology drama since the Twilight Zone. They've tried to knock it off, but it's never succeeded.
And the two remakes that they've done, both in, what was it, 86 and 2002.
Yeah, they both suck.
Thank you.
One suck more than the other. There is no half-hour drama anywhere. All dramas are an hour, basically. And half-hour became relegated in the 60s to the sitcom. So, when you look at those Twilight Zones, half-hour dramas and half-hour anthology drama, I mean, the burden to create that much original drama, certainly burned out on it, of course, and the Twilight Zone has as many bad episodes as good ones.
Definitely.
Keep up that quality, but, see, I'm very harsh on the Twilight Zone. I dismiss about half the episodes as bugs. And then I believe there's 75 episodes left. I think 50 of those, which include Game of Pool, are what I call good to great television. Then you're left with 25 half hours that, to me, are, what you give to the aliens. That is the 25 gems. They're like the equivalent in rock and roll to the Phil Spector hit singles. Those 3-minute songs that were like mini operas that Spector would concoct with his wall of sound. Those half-hour Twilight Zone episodes are like great hit singles of television.
Okay, so what?
Nothing like them. Never will be anything like them. They were objects of art in black and white, which my coffee table art book Visions from the Twilight Zone you can see on my website. Another book I'm trying to bring back into print, which, keep your fingers crossed, hoping will happen next year. I treat the black and white images like black and white art photography.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I consider the Twilight Zone the father of American popular culture. Because just like 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, if you presented me any current science fiction, fantasy, or horror product, I think I can connect it back to Serling and the Twilight Zone in less than 6 degrees.
Fascinating.
Yes.
And sticking with the theme of 1950s television, are you a fan? you must be a fan of the Adventures of Superman with George Reeves.
Yes and no. I mean, it's all we had growing up before Batman.
That's true.
But I never liked George Reeves that much. I mean, his Clark Kent was good, but you know, his Superman was not really physically, to me, the right figure. And the hair, his face drove me nuts. Superman was with that black hair with that spit girl. You know, if you look at Rock Hudson in the 1950s, in all those Doris Day movies, you look at Rock Hudson, that's your live-action Superman of the 1950s. If you could imagine him, the way he looks in those movies, put him in a Superman outfit, give him a little spit curl, and that's your Superman. Not George Reeves. He was a nice guy. He had the right attitude. But, you know, for me, as an artist, I mean, it's all about, with these superheroes, if you're going to do them in another medium, it's all about what they look like. It's all about the art. I like a good story, but comics attracted me because of the visual. And then you just hope, keep your fingers crossed, and hope the story's good. And when the story's good as the art, you have great comics.
Definitely.
How many comics have I bought hoping the story would be good? Because the art was fucking great. And then you read it, and you're like, whatever.
That's all right.
That's the goal. Now, there have been a handful of lousy art, great stories. Because it's got to be pretty odd that I would buy something that tells me of the art. And because the story was good, because you can't read the story standing in the candy store or the comic book store. You know, you got to either buy it or, you know, remember, hey kid, you're gonna read it or buy it. So the point is, you have to count on the art to make you even want to buy the comic in the first place. Visuals seduce you. You hope the story keeps you there.
Definitely. It's, you have to give me, I had a brain fart for a second, man. But now that I'm back online, let's see, I want to ask you a question or two about Steve Ditko, the co-creator of Spider-Man. Do you have any theories on why he left after 38 issues?
Well, he just recently wrote an essay called Why I Quit. It literally just came out. If you order it through that Robin Snyder Productions, he puts out a newsletter called the Comix, and he publishes Ditko stuff. Ditko finally came out and told the world why he quit.
Oh, wow.
So I don't want to really reveal it because you should really support Ditko by buying the newsletter. It's like $1.50. But you can find it online, go to Facebook or whatever. Robin Snyder, SNYDER, the comics. You should be able to track it down fairly easily. But the point is you know, Ditko had his reasons, and you know, art and making a living doing art and working with other people in a freelance position. You know, it's very, it's like a tightrope you're walking. You know, you've got to get stuff approved. You're dealing with other people, companies, money. You know, the fact that anything great gets done in the commercial environment is sometimes nothing short of a miracle itself.
Definitely. Yeah, because I actually just watched the documentary Searching for Steve Ditko, which I thought was amazing.
Wait, what did you just watch? Oh,
Jonathan Ross's Searching for Steve Ditko.
Yeah, that's probably the best mainstream documentary ever done about comics, really, because Ross is a real fan. I just saw him at the San Diego Comic Convention last weekend at the Eisner Awards, and yeah, he really knows his Ditko and knows his comics, so, you know, there needs to be more Jonathan Rosses. I mean, I would love to be in his position of influence and sort of celebrity, because, yeah, I feel like I could be a Jonathan Ross of that type, the stuff that I talk about and the history I'm into is I can bring that to life. And I've done my Ditko documentary, but it's in the form of a book. In my book, The Silver Age of Comic Art, my chapter on Ditko addresses all these issues, as well as, of course, shows off his incredible art and creativity behind Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. His other creations from the Silver Age, the Creeper, Hawk and Dove, the Question, Mr. A. They're all in that Ditko chapter, and I would say that my unique combination of verbal and visual in a printed art book format with comic history, pretty unique. And I believe that my chapter on Ditko alone, in my book, The Silver Age of Comic Art, is the best thing ever done on Ditko's work, period.
Yeah, it's really great stuff. Hopefully one day that book will be put on audio for people who have low vision or comic book fans who lost their sight.
Well, there's an ebook version, the book is self-published through Archway Individual Simon Schuster. The only downside is that it still is sort of self-publishing, meaning I'm kind of on my own trying to sell the book. It's beautifully printed. There's an ebook version. It's available through Amazon, Barnes & Noble. People can come to my website, get the special signed, sketched in version, So, but it's just that it's still, I got to do everything myself with my own resources, and, it's hard.
Yeah, actually, I'm tempted to put one or two of the chapters in Braille myself, but that's a painstaking process.
Wait, say that one more time, Adam?
I'm actually thinking of putting a chapter or two of your Silver Age of Comics book into Braille.
Wow, that would be great.
It's because I've learned how to write Braille as well as read it in the last 2 years. And unfortunately, it's a very painstaking.
Yeah, I can imagine. Actually, I can't imagine. That's what I mean. I really can't imagine the level of work that goes into something like that. Wow. Well, I hope it succeeds.
Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna try it just because my whole thing is trying to be. I'm tired of being the ambassador to the visually impaired community alone. So, because we have all these awesome movies now, I have two of my friends who are going blind who have gotten into comics, but yet they can't appreciate the art.
Yeah, it's really sad. I don't know what to say. It's like, I've been talking the whole time about the visual and,
Well,
your sight impaired. I mean, I don't know what to...
You know what, though?
I'm at a loss of, what could possibly be done.
But you know what? I at least still have enough vision left where I can still appreciate the art to a degree.
Yeah.
And I still have memories of what things looked like from when my sight was better. So I have that. So it's just at least, and that's where I'm more.
Your passion and enthusiasm, Adam. And in the end, most people with all their full senses have so little passion and enthusiasm for anything. And you know what I mean? It's like that is really the spirit of life that you have to hold on to, is your passion and enthusiasm for the subject matter despite your sight. In the New Testament, I think there's a quote from Jesus where he says, blessed are those who would believe without seeing. It's easy to believe if you've seen, but blessed are those who have faith, believe, and who have not seen. And that's how I would describe you, Adam.
Oh, thank you. I mean,
I'm blessed, man.
You know what? This industry has given me a home and a family, and a livelihood. And I have great friends. I mean, I get to see you every so often at shows.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm gonna be at this Garden State Comicfest next week.
Actually,
Down New Jersey. Do you know about that convention?
yeah, I do. I'm not sure I'm actually going to that because I think I actually have a bachelor party next week.
Oh, screw the bachelor party, pun intended. Man, take the bachelor party to the convention.
Yeah, that's an idea.
Hey, I'm going out at 2:30. You can still come and see me Saturday and still go to your bachelor party.
Not that I could do, but there is a convention that you're going to be at that I know I'm going to be at all weekend long, and it's August 15th, 16th, 17th.
Yes, the Connecticut Comicon in Mohegan Sun.
Yep, I'm going to be there doing...
I'll be lecturing each day there. I just got the schedule today, as a matter of fact. I think Friday at 5:30 I'm lecturing on Silver Age at my book, and then I think Saturday at 1:30 or 2:30. Let me check. I think Saturday at 1:30 I'm lecturing on
Irish Schnapp.
Irish Schnapp, which is the whole discussion, and Sunday at 1:30 the 75th anniversary of the Spirit, which is a brand new lecture that I've never done before. So I'm looking forward to that, and that's ctcomicon.com, I believe, is
Yep.
the email address.
Yeah, because I'm actually...
At the end of the podcast, Adam, you'll put on all the appropriate URL links and all the things people need to go to.
Yeah.
Follow up with, like to get my book and all that.
Yep. Do that, and I'll put that all in the comments section, and I'll make sure all the appropriate links, and I actually will verbalize all the appropriate websites, and all that good stuff.
So I'm not going to see you at Garden State.
You might. Like I said, Garden State's in a place where I actually just need to see if there's public transportation there too, because I'm not going to be there as a dealer. I'm in Ramsey.
In Ramsey, New Jersey?
Yeah.
And this is Morristown?
Yeah, it's in Warren.
In Morristown, I know.
Yeah. So
My point is, that should be a relatively, again, a no-brainer. I'm sure there's bus lines that go from Ramsey to wherever you got to go, to get to Morristown. Yeah, Morristown is happening a little bird.
Yeah, no, I definitely, like I said,
there's major bus lines to Morristown.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna, like I said.
Sure, you can get a bus from Ramsey, maybe you have to transfer once, but I bet you it's a one-transfer bus ride from Ramsey to Morristown.
Yeah, like I said, I'm definitely gonna try to make it out.
I'm just saying, I go on at 2:30. I'm only there Saturday. I'm not there Sunday.
What do you love?
25th.
You're
lecturing on the Silver Age there.
Nice.
I'll be at a table selling my book.
Sweet. So explain a little bit about Irish Schnapp for the Awesome Sauce Comics audience, real quick.
Yeah, Irish Schnapp was what I call the great god of DC Comics logos and lettering. Starting with Action Comics 1, Superman, the classic Superman telescopic logo. He refined from Joe Shuster's original kind of raw amateur sketches. Every DC Comics Silver Age logo you can think of. The Flash, Green Lantern, Hawkman, Justice League of America. All those house ads that he did in DC Comics that are classic examples of hand lettering. Then he did things like the comic scope stamp in the upper right corner that people grew up with.
The little CCA stamp.
The DC Comics bullet seal in the upper left corner, the round circle seal, is Irish Schnapp.
Wow.
Not only did he give DC Comics its entire visual identity for like 30 years, but before that, when he was a young man, he designed the Roman letters that are engraved on top of New York City's Penn Station post office. Neither rain nor snow nor gloom of night. That's Irish Schnapp.
You see, when you told me that a couple days ago, that really blew my mind.
Yeah, and it blew the mind of the people at the Type Directors Club in Manhattan that have an exhibition space on 36th Street between 8th and 9th Avenue, not too far around the corner Penn Station post office. And I got to design an exhibit, 3 dimensions of Irish Schnapp's works, because I had access to a printer who was able, for no charge, because it's really tight during this one, to blow up things like the Superman logo 14 feet long, Adam.
Awesome.
And the exhibit is on display until September 25th. You have to go to twilight.org. Again, you'll give all the URLs at the end of the show, but you have to make an appointment. It's only Monday through Friday, like 9 to 5. But trust me, you have never seen an exhibit of comic art like the exhibit I just designed. Why can I say that without an ounce of hyperbolic puffery? Is because I've seen every exhibit of comic art. There's nothing like what I just designed that is sitting in the Typewriter's Club as we speak.
Wow, that's amazing. And that's on 36th, between 8th and
8th and 9th until September 25th. So if you're coming to New York City, listening to this for the summer, to whatever, you have a chance to see the greatest exhibit of comic art you've ever seen.
I'm definitely going to check it out sometime in the next week. I just...
Not a single piece of original art is hanging in the show, and not a single comic book itself is hanging in the show. And yet, it's the greatest exhibit on comic art that's ever been produced.
Why is that?
You gotta go see the show.
I definitely will.
On my YouTube channel, there are videos posted of the show. On my Silver Age group page, I have an Irish Schnapp exhibition page. A lot of these photographs and videos are posted. They're easy to find. And you'll see what I'm talking about, Adam.
I will.
Now, you had these links for as long as we talked.
Yeah,
You know?
some of them actually, like I said, I went to them. I use a specialized computer for people with visual impairments.
Right.
Some of them were being a little, the one with the Irish Schnapp stuff was being a little iffy with my software.
Well, anyway, the point is all the stuff is there. There's plenty of still photographs at the various websites that reviewed Irish Schnapp. If you do an Irish Schnapp Google search, I guarantee you all the online things I've done the past couple months to promote the show are all there. But the point is everybody's seen Irish Schnapp's work without knowing his name, comic book people especially. So it's a real eye-opener. I'm very proud to have been given the chance to even do what's really a dream project for me, because in my own illustration work, I've been doing Irish Schnapp's lettering and homages without even knowing his name for years. I grew up loving that DC Comics lettering, but we never knew. Listen, I grew up loving Kurt Swan without even knowing the name Kurt Swan. He didn't reveal Kurt Swan's name in the comics, until I was years into reading it. We just knew he was the good Superman artist.
Yeah, definitely. They didn't start putting credits in the comics to, like the early 60s?
Well, Stan Lee started putting them in. Julius Schwartz, the editor of DC, he would sprinkle a few in the early 60s, but Moreinformation, who had the Superman family line, didn't have credit at all until like 1968.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, like I said, the other DC books sort of got some credit. But basically, it was really Stanley and Marvel, really breaking that open and making credits a big part of the splash pages and comics, and really giving, the letterers, you didn't give the colorist credit in the early days. It was the, writer, editor, pencil inker, letterer, and that was it. So the colorist didn't get any credit in the Marvel comics.
Nice. Alright, Arlen, I want to say thanks so much for doing this with me.
Well, Adam, anytime, man. It's always, I love talking about comics.
I know, just, it was a real pleasure having you. I actually just wanted to get one more thing before we wrap. Now that it just popped into my head, anything from current stuff that you're digging at all makes you say that this industry still has a very viable future that isn't on a small or big screen?
No, wait, say it again. I missed the beginning, the first part of your statement.
Alright, is there anything that you're reading from current comics that makes you say that isn't on a small screen or a big screen that you're like digging or enjoying reading at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much great work out there. I mean, I don't know where to begin. I'm a big fan of all the independent guys from like the 80s and 90s on up. Daniel Clowes, Charles Burns, Peter Bagg, those great old Jewish Drew Friedman, Chris Ware, Art Spiegelman, all those guys. I love anything they do. Adrian Tomine is great. Joe Matt, Dean Haspiel, he's the mayor of Brooklyn, the Brooklyn comic scene. Whatever he does is great. There's this woman, Amy Reeder, who does Rocket Girl, which is a great, great book. I don't really read much of the Marvel and DC mainstream product, all their superhero stuff. It just looks all too grim and gritty and slick and kind of soulless. So I tend to go towards still following artists like anything Michael Allred does is great. He came to my Irish Schnapp lecture in San Diego.
Yeah, Mike's actually a good friend of the show. I've interviewed him a couple weeks ago.
I met him Friday night at the Oscars in San Diego. Invited him to my Schnapp show. He came the next day, man, and honored me with his presence. And that was one of the highlights of San Diego, and that I was able to present Irish Schnapp to Michael Allred. And I was able to give him the Silver Age book and everything. So that was really the highlight of my San Diego comic convention. So I follow the great artist J.H. Williams III is one of the greatest comic artists working right now. He's finishing up that Sandman overture with Neil Gaiman. But anything J.H. Williams does is worth buying and reading.
Actually just...
That's basically what I do with comics but man, there's so many people doing great stuff. It's just, where do you begin? That's the great thing about comics is that there's just so much variety now, and the archival stuff. I mean, I've been spending more of my money on those IDW artist editions.
Those things are...
Steranko just won the Eisner Award for the Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing, which I have my copy of, signed by Steranko, of course. But I mean, those are like $125, $150 that it. So I've been actually buying more of those than I've been buying, what do you call it, the mainstream Marvel and DC superhero product.
That's awesome. I love those IDW artist proof editions.
I mean, it's funny. When we were kids, the Silver Age material was great. Better than I think the mainstream comics of today. But back then, we didn't have any of these archival reprints. If one of these IDW artist editions had come out back then, we all would have had heart attacks. We couldn't even dream of a project like, the Eisner Award winning Steranko artist edition volume, just won the Eisner Award. Like, we wouldn't even be able to fathom to conceive that. And the deluxe editions and reprints they have now for everything. I grew up reading the Peanuts in those little paperback books. But now, if you want to read Peanuts, you get those beautiful Fantagraphics hardcovers, designed by people like Seth, and, they're gorgeous, beautifully printed, and they even have a Peanuts artist edition, believe it or not. Charles Schultz did those dailies on these giant boards.
Yeah.
Almost a yard long. So they did an artist edition book that's almost a yard long.
Wow.
The binding is on the left. It's like a long rectangle. Hardcover. $4,000. looking at the original art, actual size. So my point is, we live in a golden age right now of incredible archival comics history, the likes of which, like I said, couldn't even be conceived of when I was growing up. And yet, the current comics, really, I'm talking about the mainstream marketing stuff, I find pretty sort of plastic.
See, the
So
thing...
back in my day, the comics were better, but we didn't have the archival reprints. Today, you got your archival reprints beyond your wildest dreams, but the current comics aren't that great. But you know what? So what? Doesn't matter. There's so many comics, so much great history, so many different ways you can spend your money, so many different ways you can spend your reading time with comics, from epic sagas to little slice of life stories. I mean, that's what's great about comics, man. Their variety is unbelievable. Now more than ever.
Definitely.
The comic store and graphic novel section, whatever you want to call it, and it's just unbelievable what they have out now. There's something for everybody, literally, male, female, age groups, all different types of stories. Unfortunately, superheroes dominate the discussion and lead people and mainstream parents and stuff to believe the only thing in a comic store is superhero junk.
Which is
most suburban stores is true.
That's where I'm spoiled by, Midtown Comics and Forbidden Planet.
You gotta go to New York City to those midtowns, or Forbidden Planet and all that. If you want to see the range of comics that are published, if you're stuck in the suburbs, I'm sorry, but they're only gonna have chances to have the mainstream Marvel and DC stuff. They're not gonna have the independent books and the quirky one shots and the deluxe artist edition things. They don't got the money.
And then, like I said, I discovered a lot of the independent stuff that I really, really dig, like Evan Dorkin with Milk and Cheese, Sarah Dwyer, some of Jim Thompson stuff like that, through conventions. Are you watching any of the superhero related television or currently, or no?
Am I watching what? The superhero what?
Some of the current TV shows, The Flash, Arrow.
I like The Flash most of all, but that CW, soap opera stuff, it's a little too much. I wish they'd dial some of that down, but that's Berlanti and that's the CW, so I basically like The Flash, but like most TV shows these days that are on broadcast TV, I don't ever watch them while they're on, because the commercials are unbearable. So I watch everything afterwards and sit through the commercials. So The Flash, it's the same thing. It's like I can't watch broadcast television anymore. It's just, if you can zap through the commercials, why not?
Way too many of them. And,
But by the way, so I watched The Flash. I don't watch Arrow. I think a show about Armature is boring. I never really understood Green Arrow's appeal, to tell you the truth. In the modern world, a guy with a bow and arrow, you gotta be kidding me. But whatever turns people on, live and let live. That's my motto. So I would say I got a sneak preview of the first episode of this new Supergirl. Speaking of Greg Berlanti, but it's a little more upscale because it's on CBS. So I guess they got more money. And I'll tell you something. It's all in the casting. I like the girl that plays Supergirl. I think they know what they're doing. And I think in this case, Berlanti's soap opera aspects that work that are this whole teenage romance angst, I think they play better with a female protagonist, to tell you the truth, than with a male protagonist. I think his style suits, and I think his angle on his attitude Supergirl should have, as exemplified by just his first
See, that's where I differed. I actually got a reprint of the Action 252, and I was like, what the heck is this? And I didn't mind females being in my comics all that much.
Right.
But I actually saw, from what I've seen from this new CBS show, it looks fantastic.
Yeah, okay, so what else? So there's, so wait, so I watch, so I'll be watching Supergirl. I tried that Daredevil on Netflix, and man, I couldn't get past the first episode. It was drab and dreary and down, and it was lit darkly. I mean, I don't know. It really did nothing for me. I couldn't get through the one episode. People say it was great, but I don't know. I couldn't even get into it.
I've watched all 13 episodes, and
Yeah,
I actually think it borrows a little too much from the Frank Miller era.
it felt very Millerish.
Yeah, very Frank
But
Miller.
it's okay, because listen, to reinvent the Daredevil, without Daredevil, that was his vehicle to stardom, Daredevil. That was where he made his bones. So if it's a Frank Miller Daredevil, fine. But, you know, I didn't like that. Or, okay, so eventually he gets the red costume.
Got it in, like, the last episode.
How does it work? How does it look to you? Is it good? Not good? What?
It looks, pretty much based on John Romita Jr. art. So it looks good.
But what was the base comic he was working off of? Was it a specific comic book?
The Man Without Fear miniseries, from Frank Miller and John Romita Jr.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyway.
And the one thing that bothers me about that show is all the other creators outside of Hollywood got some kind of credit.
Wait, say that again? Back it up?
Basically, a lot of Hollywood didn't get any credit for his contribution to the character Daredevil in the show whatsoever.
Well, who did they credit?
Well, Stan Lee, Bill Everett, Frank Miller, Ed Brubaker,
So they're crediting the writers, but in terms of the creators, who did they credit for art?
let's see,
Joe Orlando, who drew a couple issues.
yeah, Gene Colan they credited.
Orlando?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask something. Joe Orlando drew like 3 issues of Daredevil before Wally Wood came on. So they're saying that, you know, the issues, because they're already giving Lee credit as the writer. So, you know, they're giving credit to Joe Orlando because he drew 3 issues, but they're not giving credit to Wally Wood.
Yeah, it drives me nuts.
Well, there you go. That's why there's still battles to be fought out.
Definitely.
And that's my mission, is to stay on the front lines and speak truth to power and try to act heroically, just like the superheroes. You know, there's a great Bruce Springsteen line from the song Backstreet, where he goes, remember all the movies Terry we'd go see, trying to learn how to walk like the heroes we thought we had to be. And that's what comics taught us, how to walk like heroes.
Without a shadow of a doubt, my friend.
Yes.
And
Upward and upward, Adam.
Yep. Alright, my friend, once again, thank you for so much.
Passion and enthusiasm alive.
Oh, I will. And
You got it, Adam. Great talking to you.
great talking to you too, Arlen. I'll make sure
Send me links. We're Facebook friends now. You're going to post this or whatever you're going to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Get a friend. I'll enter you in my comics history groups and all that.
Alright, cool. I'll get to see you sometime tomorrow. Just between this and.
I'll see you in August at the Connecticut Comic-Con.
Definitely, because I'm definitely going to be out there, because I'm working on getting an interview with John Leslie's ship, so I'm definitely going to be there the whole weekend.
Okay, Adam, it's been great, man.
Alright, cool. See you in Connecticut, my friend.
Bye.
Alright, bye.
Share. All contact. NIP alert. At 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Cancel. Button. Phone. Notes. Text feed. App switcher. Phone. Close phone. Home. Home. Phone. 4 new items. Music.
Let's post this.
Double tap to open.
Stop recording button. 120, 120. Stop recording button. Enter.